Hey there, and welcome to the Outdoor Quest TV Zoomcast. And I'm TJ Schwanke, and today our special guest is Curtis Fischer from Silver Willow Taxidermy. And Curtis, you've been our personal taxidermist and the exclusive taxidermist to Outdoor Quest TV, going on what, about 9 or 10 years now?
Yeah, yeah, it's been that long. Uh,
We're no older though, are we?
Not me. I see more gray in you though.
So I remember back then when you first started, you were just kind of transitioning out of a job in the oil patch, and you were kind of, I think your plan was what, about a 5-year transition into full-time
Yeah,
taxidermy. And how long did that actually take?
I think it was probably about a year when we decided that we were going to transition, and yeah, quite a few things lined up for us. Good things lined up for us, and then we were able to make that jump, and I guess we haven't looked back. It's been 7.5 years.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad it's working out for you guys. It's a real family business for you guys. I mean, I see your pictures
Yeah,
on Facebook. You got the dog and the kids and Jennifer out in the shop with you and everything. So,
yeah. No, the whole family's involved, and I guess that's a good thing now that with the kids home from school, one of them can come to the shop and work. And
and one of them's
uh,
your IT guy.
yeah, and our IT guy, he's done a lot. He hooked up a lot of stuff in the shop.
Well, I
Um,
can I can always tell when he's taken the pictures of the mounts that you post and when you've taken them. So, and I won't tell you whose are better, but I'm guessing you can guess on that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It causes some arguments in the shop, but yeah.
So, how's things going in the middle of the pandemic for a taxidermist?
Well, we were wondering how it was gonna go, but guys are still going bear hunting, like bear season right now. Stuff's still happening, and so far, most of the people are coming to pick their stuff up, and they're paying for it. So I think, like I said, we're going to notice it probably next year when people didn't go to Africa right now and New Zealand and all those overseas places, because we probably do 40% of overseas stuff, and so no one's traveling to go on those hunts right now. So we'll probably see that a year out.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're probably right about that. I guess probably the one saving grace on that is nobody's shipping right now either. So I know I've got shipments in 3 parts of the world right now that are all ready to go, and they've been held up for 2 or 3 months, and are probably going to be held up for another 2 or 3 months. So hopefully that helps you balance things out a little bit as well. But you're right. There's
Yeah,
just a lot of hunters haven't gone. I think most people I've talked to are rebooking for 21. So there's
yeah.
definitely going to be a bit of a lag period for you there, but I think it'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, it will. Hopefully the world straightens out and people can get back to normal and go on these trips. Um, but yeah, we actually got a message today from one client, and his stuff from New Zealand arrived here, so maybe that's a good sign.
Yeah,
But we did drop some stuff off at the shippers last week to go to Australia, and they said it probably wouldn't go there yet. They hadn't heard of shipments heading that way yet, and planes booking cargo to go that way. So
I
but
know.
stuff still traveling to the US. They said that hasn't hiccup there as far as shipping stuff, mounts, and some stuff coming, supplies for us. We get some supplies out of the US. It's just taking a little bit longer right now.
Yeah, I
So
know we've got well, a couple of shipments we have, they are ready to go and they probably could ship, but I know our broker here in Canada was telling us that shipping's about triple right now. I guess
yeah,
just with so few planes flying and everything else. So we just kind of said, you know what, we can kind of put it on hold for now. So
yeah.
yeah, just
Well, one thing that we ran in that I had heard last week was because like CBSA, Canada Border Services, and CFIA, that they're running skeleton crews
yes.
at some of these places, that the shipments that have arrived aren't getting inspected, and people are seeing big storage bills. Um, it's too bad. Um, and that one was, for example, like Toronto. Guys had their shipments sitting in Toronto and nothing they could do about it, but just pay storage bills, right?
And at $100 a day or more, that adds up in a hurry. I know we've got caught in
Yeah.
that a few times. So that's
Yeah.
just
Well,
kind of why we're sitting waiting right now.
yeah. Yeah. Well, he said you can just bank on easily $1,000 just for storage. He said right now because of it just sitting and waiting.
Yikes. Scary times we're living in. So
Yeah.
as a taxidermist, I mean, you do have stuff coming from all over the world, so I'm certain you see, a lot of different states of the quality of the trophies coming in. But maybe tell us a little bit, for the average guy that lives here in Alberta, wants to bring you in a bear or a deer or a moose to be mounted. Maybe just kind of go through a little bit about what he could do best or she could do best to get that to you in the best condition.
Yeah, well, it all depends on the hunt situation. So where we're lucky in most deer and moose situations here in Alberta is it's November. Uh, we got freezing temperatures, so if a person leaves it outside overnight, we don't have to worry about it of any decay or bacteria growing on it. But the same people, if they go on a bear hunt, you have to think differently on the bear hunt. When you're out there plus 15, plus 20, that hide needs to come off as soon as you can, cool down or processed as soon as you can. Salted if you are experienced with taking the skull and the paws out of the bear. Do that if you're in a remote location. Like if you're gonna do like backpack mountain hunts for sheep and go for those, one in a lifetime type animals like a sheep, I would recommend stopping by and we can give you some tips on how to turn the ears, turn the lips, and get that thing fleshed down and salted out on the mountain so that you know it's going to be preserved. Um, we had a couple animals last year that were guys didn't take salt on their hunt, and they were once in a lifetime type trophies, and one made it and one's kind of questionable, the animals. So just a little bit of I guess pre-planning would have helped that a little bit better.
So, like, if you're going, say, on a backpack hunt in the mountains, I mean, obviously weight's a big concern. How much is the minimum amount of salt you could get away with, say, for a shoulder mount sheep?
Like a shoulder mount sheep, you could 5 pounds of salt would probably do well. But even though if you look at just the if you look at like even if you take the salt, say in your truck, right, and you can say take 2 or 3 pounds with you on your backpack, and when that'll help you a little bit until you get back to your truck or get out, and then you can apply more salt. So yeah, I see what you mean when it comes to extra weight, and
Yeah.
that is a good question, but it depends when you're going. If it's August, I'm not a sheep hunter. I mean, that.
We've had you up a mountain before.
Yeah, you made me climb a mountain. But I wouldn't want to carry 5 pounds of salt up that mountain. But I mean, if you're looking at plus 20 temperatures, I mean, you got to be prepared to look after that cape. It's no different than the meat. If you treat the cape the same as you treat the meat on those hunts, you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we typically, try to take a couple pounds of salt, and you're kind of just trying to sneak through. But, I've certainly found when I'm up there, like if you can keep those capes as clean as possible, like keep as much meat off them, as much fat off them, the salt
Mm-hmm.
definitely goes a lot further. And
Yeah, it does, and a sheep cape, pretty thin skin, so it doesn't take a lot of salt on the surface to actually take effect on that thin skin.
yeah, I know when Vanessa killed her grizzly bear in the Yukon quite a few years ago, we were having, plus 20 temperatures every day. And, we were in there for 10 days after she killed it. So we literally skinned that bear out with scalpels and like got every ounce of fat off of it. And I think we got away with probably 10 pounds of salt on a bear, which, isn't a lot on a big grizzly, but, the hair held fine. And it was just,
Yeah.
I think that, taking care of things in the field. And I'm sure, this always that I'll joke when we're in the field is that, don't worry, the taxidermist can fix it, but
Yeah.
you can't always.
We can't regrow the hair, and that's the first thing that will happen is the hair will fall out, and it'd be pretty sad when it's on the bridge of the nose of a bighorn sheep or on the lip line, somewhere where you're really going to see it. Yeah. But we had some clients last year. They were going on a sheep hunt, and they asked what they should do, and we showed them, and they actually, they were successful on their hunt, and they did everything, and their capes are good. It's just that little bit of pre-planning. And I mean, if you're the taxidermist you're going to take it to isn't going to mind teaching you how to look after it, because it's just going to make their job easier.
Right.
Yeah.
So with a salted cape, I think another one of the big mistakes that people make is they'll bring it home and then they'll throw it in the freezer and kind of forget about it for a while. And once you put the salt on it, it really doesn't freeze that well.
No. I mean, we put salt on our highways to stop the moisture from freezing, right?
Yeah.
So all the salt does in the freezer is just dry it out a whole lot quicker.
Right.
I mean, a couple of weeks ain't going to really bother it, but if you're leaving it in there 6-8 months, yeah, it's going to get dried out pretty good.
Yeah. So basically get it to you as quick as you can when you're out of the mountains. And then, you can look at it properly after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, you can just, even if you take a little extra salt to your truck, you might be a day or day and a half drive home from wherever you're at. Just having that extra 10 pounds of salt in the back of your truck waiting for you, it's going to go a long ways as well.
Yeah. So say for those deer heads in November and things like that, are you just as happy when people bring them in unskinned?
Yeah. Yeah. If they just tube them down and cut them off behind the ears, I prefer that. And then that way we can cape the rest of it out how we do it, and then salt it and look after it from there. We do have a few customers that will turn the lips and ears, and we do have some that can cape them right out. They do good jobs. But then we can get the measurements too if the skull's in it, and help us with ordering forms later down the road.
Yeah, and I mean that's got to be a real trick, is figuring out what size form fits. Especially places when you come from Africa and places like that where you really have no reference. You've got a rock hard dried hide.
Yeah, on those overseas animals, we just ship them to the tannery, and when they come back, we thaw them and then take what measurements we can, like the neck measurements on the tanned skin,
Right.
and then order from there. Like a Cape Buffalo, for example. I mean, if you order the wrong form, it's going to be a nightmare to mount. If that form's a little too big for that skin, it's going to be a nightmare. So we just wait till the skins are back from tanning, measure them up, and that way, like when we get our skins back from tanning, we're probably 25, 30 skins. So we can measure that many skins, and then we can put a bulk order in for form. So it helps us too when we get stuff ordered in bulk.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And so there's basically a few different types of shoulder mounts nowadays. I mean, you can just have the straight shoulder mount. We have what's called a wall pedestal now, but you have to leave different amounts of hide on for each one, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, lots of guys, that's another thing pre-plan when you go on a hunt. Like if you're going to Africa, we do see some of it like from Africa like if they put a name tag on, say like TJ Schwanke, Gemsbuck, pedestal. So it means you probably told them you wanted enough skin left to do a pedestal mount, right? So, yeah. And so that again, it goes back to pre-planning, are you going to get pedestals, shoulder mounts when you're over there? The thing with some of the tanning is if you leave a cape extra long for pedestal, you're going to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted just a standard shoulder mount, so a little bit of pre-planning there would go a long ways too on the final invoice, because there's no point in tanning all that extra skin and then we just cut it off and it pretty much goes in the garbage. So
Yeah, I mean, I've had people, you can never leave too much skin on. I'm like, well, if you're paying for the tanning, you actually can. So, I mean, definitely better to have a few inches more than you need, but you don't need another foot exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've ran into that with some bears where guys will, you know, they want to do a rug or a full mount, and then they change to a half mount right when we're going to mount it. But you know, you've already paid for the whole skin to be tanned, and
Yeah.
now the rest of it is really a waste on a dry tanned rug. It's not, but on a wet tanned, you know, it just becomes a little harder. But so, I mean, people change their minds, but pre-planning on what you want to do with the mount before you go, it'll help you as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many variations now, and I mean, I guess you can help your customers guide them through that process too.
Yeah,
Is what kind of amount they actually want to get. And I don't think a lot of people even realize nowadays, the creativity of some of the forms available, and just some of the mounts that are out there that they've probably never seen before.
yeah, yeah. No, and there's in the technology. I don't know if it's technology or innovation. I guess in form quality and styles has really come a long ways in the last 10 years, and you see a lot more pedestal mounts now, a lot more wall pedestals, um, a lot more action mounts. Not your very seldom do we do the stagnant straight ahead to your head anymore. Um, there's, I guess people can see the life that can be put into the animals, and they want that extra art put into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you can do things like add habitat to the mount, make full dioramas and things like that. And if you've got the room, I mean, they look amazing sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. The habitats really add to the mount, and it kind of tells, if you get the habitat right, it kind of tells the person looking at it what it would be like if they were there. Like if you do the dry rock and sand part, say for an African mount, people look at it and say, wow, that if that's what the habitat really is like over there, or the bright greens of New Zealand, like, that to me it adds to the mount for sure.
When you go way out of your way to try and match that habitat to exactly where the client hunted, don't you?
Yeah, we've experienced, for example, New Zealand and a few other places. And so when we go, we do take pictures of the habitat as well, and try and get it as close as possible. And sometimes we've asked the clients for pictures of, their of the trophy, or the photo of where they were at when they got the animal, where the animal was at when it died. So we can get like sand colors, grass colors, tree type. So we've done it, to basically bring it back to what it looked like when they were there.
And you guys custom build a lot of your own habitat, because I know we have a couple pieces in our house.
Mm-hmm.
I think my co-host on the show, Vanessa, was a little bit particular with one zebra mount she wanted done. And I mean, you guys just totally nailed that, but that was built right from scratch, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That zebra mount we did right from scratch, like the tree, the water puddle, everything from scratch. I'm not the only person in the shop. I'm really fortunate to have some really good help, uh, and some help that is into the job.
Right.
When it comes to building a tree or building a habitat like that they're involved, and I think it helps on the end result as well.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about North America or Alberta mounts, basically, that people are bringing to you and what they can do. Say somebody is going to Africa or New Zealand. What's a couple tips you like to give them, just so hopefully their capes get back in good condition?
Yeah. So what we've done for some of the overseas clients, and we'll do it for all of them if you ask, or we've made up like name tags, for example, and you take them and it has like your name on it, like TJ Cape, and then we also give you a hide seal, that has a number on it that you click onto the cape, and it can't come off unless you cut it off. So once you're over there, for example, when we were in New Zealand and hunted like at Gerald's place, our capes that week weren't the only capes he had, right? So how's he going to know which goes where, or the logistics guy? But what we did when we went over there, for example, we had our name tags on them, we had our number tags on them. So when they go through, like, Gerald's hands, and they go through New Zealand Expeditors hands, they see those tags and like, oh, okay, this goes in that crate. Even though, he'll put his own identification on there. So now it's, double, triple identification. We have had one client that, his Marco Polo sheep wasn't his when it showed up. And what do you do? It's from around the world. Like, and we just can't get in the truck and go back there.
Yeah.
So we give identification, and you take it with you and go to the skinning shed, and just say, hey, can you put this on my cape? And that would help a lot with getting your trophies back. Other than that, I guess look at reference. I've heard of some nightmares overseas.
I think you've probably seen some nightmares come back, haven't you?
Yeah, but I mean, the one place like over in New Zealand, we actually went and visited the Expeditors and had toured their place and how clean it was, and so and we've referred other people to use them, and it's seamless. So ask people that have been to those locations, hey, it's not just where did you hunt, did you see lots of animals? There's also more to it after you get your animal, like how are you getting it home, who did you use, and you should have a pretty good experience right to the end.
Well, I think you make a really good point there, and the fact that you're kind of at the mercy of everyone over there. So like from the time you shoot that animal, it's pretty much out of your control. They're going to have their own skinners there. It's probably going to go from their place to a taxidermist to be, either salted. The skulls are going to be cleaned. It's going to be prepped for shipping. Then it's going to go to a shipper. Then it's going to come to a broker here. So there's a lot of hands touching it in between there. And, most people are really good about doing their due diligence for finding an outfitter that provides a great hunt. But I think it's really important that you find an outfitter that also has great skinners, that works with reputable taxidermists and shippers over there, or like you say, talk to other people that, have used them. And I think we've been pretty lucky. I know we've talked to you about all of our outfitters that we've used in Africa, and, we're always interested in what the capes look like because, basically once we drop that animal off at the skinning shed, we don't see it again.
Now, you probably talk to a lot more people as far as referring, as far as hunts, where to go, people asking you, hey, where should we go? I mean, how many of them ask you after the kill? They probably ask you, where'd you go? Did you see lots of animals? Was it a good outfitter?
Yeah, and 100%.
That's probably where the question stopped, right?
Yeah, and 100%. And you're right about that. And I'm probably just as guilty of that when I'm talking to other people about hunts. But, that's the one thing you have at your home from the hunt that's going to be the memory of that hunt forever. So, it's every bit as important as that. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah. And there's some places that I have experienced just with receiving animals from those places that sometimes it can be the good outfitter, it can be a good skinner, and sometimes it's just the government, with their permitting, and it's just a bad country to try and get animals out of.
Right.
We've had really good luck when we've gone places, but I ask a ton of questions, maybe sometimes too many, but we've gotten our stuff back, and it just identified the heck out of it once we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, people, when you go on those hunts and, they have their own skinners and all that, and then they're in the skinning shed, but you paid for that hunt, right? So you should be able to go in that skinning shed and put your tag on it. Right?
And I think most outfitters don't have an issue with that at all. It's just usually by that time they're pouring brandy and there's a fire going and steaks on the fire, and you kind of forget about the skinning shed at that point. But
yeah. So no, it's one thing. You gotta prepare your hunt right to the bitter end, and that includes getting the animals home.
So we were just in England in January and we hunted muntjac and Chinese water deer there. And it was kind of a big concern of ours is how we were going to get the animals home from there. So we talked to the outfitter, but we also talked to the taxidermist there that was going to be prepping everything. And he told us, he says, a lot of taxidermists will ship Chinese water deer hides out salted. And he says 99% of them will slip. And it's just because of the way their hair is. He says, if you're going to use me, the only way I'll do it is if you let me tan it. And, he's happy to let you mount it when it comes back to North America, but he will not ship an untanned hide out of England, and only because he can't guarantee the quality. So for me, that really gave me a lot of confidence that that was the right guy to use. And I mean, his tanning prices were probably no different than it would have cost here. So it wasn't like he was trying to make a bunch of money off us or anything. I think, and once we started playing with those Chinese water deer, once they were down a little bit, I mean, you could just grab hair and pull chunks out of them. So I could see how fragile that hair was. So, and that was a good example of, asking those questions in advance. Like, okay, once it's down, where does it go? How do they deal with it? How does it get home? And, just something to think about, because all animals definitely aren't the same.
No, exactly. They're all different. I mean, even if you only hunt, say, Alberta, an antelope, their hair is very fragile.
Yeah.
Versus like a white-tailed deer in November.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we talked about a little bit about the joke that taxidermists can fix everything, but you can fix a lot of stuff. And I've seen some stuff that you started with and that you finished with that. I think last time I was at your shop, you just got a new flocking machine.
Yeah.
And you said you can't add hair to mounts, and I'm going to call BS on that right now because I've seen you do it. And it was on the shorter haired African animals, but it was amazing.
Yeah, we tried something new. It worked. There was nothing else we could do to those mounts, right? They were, and we were very fortunate that our customer understood what had happened. They had shown up like that, and I said, just give us a try. We got to try something, or else the mount is no good. So he let us, and that's the other thing too, is being able to let somebody go, right? Let him try it. Maybe it wouldn't have worked out, but in that case, we're very fortunate that it did work out very well.
Well, there was really nothing to lose at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're being pretty humble about how it looked at the end, though, because I mean, I saw the beginning and I saw the end, and I mean, it was remarkable. And it's probably not a service you want to brag about because you want hides to come in good shape, but there is a lot of things you can do if they don't.
Yeah, I felt bad for that customer because I mean, one of them was his sable of all animals, and that was probably before the price of sables was lower than it is today, right?
Yeah.
So, and he had planned on doing a big life-size mount of the sable, and he only got away with the shoulder mount with the fix-it job, right? So, but and New Zealand, for example, was the other one, and yeah, it's just too bad that those things happen.
And that was just a case of poor care in Africa, was it?
Well, no, something happened on the shipment over, where a hole was punctured in the crate.
Oh.
And some critters moved into the crate.
Oh.
And ate the hair off the mane and the side of the face off the sable. So like you said, the animals, when they leave those destinations, they touch so many hands and so many people. And when you think about it, Canada Border Services, they don't care on taking care of your animal.
Yeah.
It's a crate, and let's get it out the door and or pull it out, look at it, and throw it back in the crate. So stuff like that. So yeah, lots of hands touch those animals, and for example, like that, yeah, just bad luck.
Well, good luck that he used you as a taxidermist to fix it. So
yeah.
So if you were going to go look for a taxidermist tomorrow, what kind of questions, what kind of quality would you be looking for? Like, obviously you'd want to go to a shop and see some of the work he's done and things like that. Like, what would you look for? What would you ask?
Well, I know what questions do get asked. A lot of the first questions get asked is, how much do you charge?
Right? Which is probably the worst question.
It is one of the worst questions because I mean, if you're asking what a taxidermist charges, you're painting them all with the same brush, right?
Exactly.
And, we might charge a little more for, say, a deer, for example, but look at, taxidermists should have credentials, right? Who have they done work for? Have they got a schooling background? Where did they study? Um, Awards, stuff like that. Pricing, when you get into deer heads, for example, I mean, you're talking about, a span of maybe $150 span from your low guy to your expensive guy, maybe $200. But um, you know, what I find a lot is a lot of people don't really know what the animal looks like. Like you see some guys, they've paid $1,000 for a deer, and it's got a black nose and on the mount, and there's no black noses on a deer. So see, you have to know what you're looking at when you if you go visit the taxidermist shop. You might see the animals, but what are you actually looking at, right? And then compare what you're looking at with the price. So one is credentials, reference for sure. You know, and you should have, the taxidermist should have a good turnaround. And when you walk into a shop, if they tell you we're 6 months return, but you walk in there in September, and he's still working on deer heads from November, well, he's not a 6 month turnaround. Right? So that's the thing. For example, we quote a year right now, and right now we're working on some bears. So that's what we took in last year at this time, and we should hit that quoted turnaround time. So you need to ask a lot of questions. But unfortunately, the first one that's asked is usually, what do you charge?
Yeah.
And
so why does one taxidermist charge more than the other?
a lot of it's area. I know areas. A lot of it's area. Some of it is credentials. Some guys have won a lot of awards. Some guys have put their time in, and they're 30, 40-year guys, and their work does show it. And it's no different than, like a mechanic that has 20 or 30 years versus a guy that just got out of school, or a welder or anything like that. So some taxidermists charge for their experience. Some taxidermists will charge basically the area, like what their competitors are charging, so they bring themselves up to that area. You, as a taxidermist, you can lose work by being the cheapest guy, because lots of people equate that to your quality of work. So if someone's charging $1,200 for a deer head, and the other guy down the road is charging $850, probably the first question is, well, what's wrong with that guy's work, right? So and if he has any business to him, he'll go, well, that's why I'm losing work, so I better just up mine to $1,000 because he's getting $1,200, and then it just turns into a match between those guys. And so that's part of it. I don't know why, but it seems any price checking I've seen, it seems to be in areas where there's certain places in Alberta where, I mean, I couldn't charge that out here. It's just the guys that my competitors within an hour or so of this area, they don't charge that either. I don't know why some are more than others, but
I mean, obviously quality comes into it. I mean, you're going to pay more for good work. And I mean, that's, I don't think that's ever been an issue for us, especially because, I don't know, we kind of look at our taxidermy in two ways. I mean, it's kind of like art. I mean, it does hang on your wall and you look at it every day, but those are also probably the most precious memories we have. And you want those to be the best memories you have. It's not like taxidermy for us isn't some chest beating thing. Look at the big animal I killed or anything like that. It's putting that animal on the wall to honor it and also to honor the memory of that hunt. And I want it to look as good. I don't want to save $200 on it and, look at it and go, man. And, we've had a couple of those mounts from the past that were done by supposedly reputable taxidermists. It just didn't look that good. And, they bugged us every day since.
I don't know. It's too bad that people, that happens to people. For example, that your end result of your mount is not what you wanted. Yeah.
You're just being politically correct, I can tell, so that's okay. So, so you do quite a bit of like you study with other taxidermists, and I know you've gone down to the States to work with some other taxidermists and things like that. And that the continuing education must be a big part of what you do too.
Oh yeah, and I realized that probably. I know I went and trained with a couple guys like you mentioned, but it wasn't until the last guy I went and trained with was in 2014 down in Texas. But it wasn't until like a couple years ago I realized, I didn't go to post-secondary or, college or university or anything, but once I started training with those people, I realized, well, hey, maybe this is my education after high school, right? So,
yeah.
And I mean, I like the job, so I want to do better. There's always room for improvement. And, and when you compete and you don't win, obviously you have room to improve. So
exactly.
If you have an open mind, and why not try and go learn from those people? And some of the things you learn from those people aren't just the art. Some of those guys are pretty good business people, and they can teach you a lot when it comes to that. And some of the characters you do come across, or you want to be around them, but they're but yeah, I mean, I guess you call it investing in your education. You can always learn at this, and there's new ways, new tools, new tricks of the trade that are worth learning. So,
well, there must be new technology all the time. Like, I mean, even just chemicals and glues and tools and everything else must be getting better.
Yeah, some new tans. There's always sculptors making new forms, and just the different ways they do the forms, different attachment points that makes life easier. Some relief cuts in them that make it easier in the forms. So yeah, there's always new innovation. When you get the new catalogs for the year, the first 1 or 2 pages, they're all what's new in there. And some of it's tools, some of it's forms and chemicals, like you say, paints. There's always something to learn. It's not just the old stagnant foam form and stuff, throw hide over it. There's, once you get in, like, if you get into it, I don't know how else you put it, if you embrace it, there's so much to learn and there's so much to take in. It's and there's a lot of really, really good taxidermists in North America that that I guess you call them role models, or you look up to them, and so if you want to do something like they did, or how did they do that, so you just keep asking questions, and try those new products out, and try and make a go like they did.
Well, I know even us in the TV business, like I look at the first television shows we produced 21 years ago, and I look what we produce now, and there's a market difference, and there should be. I mean, back what we did then sucks compared to what we do nowadays, but and that's all part of growth, and that's, I think, what's kept us fresh in this industry. We're always trying to keep up with technology, new cameras, new things like that, and kind of look at always what the competitors are doing, and not necessarily copy them, but look at some of the good ideas, try to make better on those. And I think anybody who's kind of self-employed and a little bit artistic and really enjoys their job, I think that's a big part of the enjoyment for it.
Well, if you don't care, you're not going to ask the questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't care about making your show better, you wouldn't ask someone who did something on their show that, you thought was intriguing or was a good idea. Hey, how did you do that? And it's only because you care, right?
No, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, we take a lot of pride in what we do, as do you. And I mean, we're doing online conferences and things all the time just to try and improve our product and make it better for our consumers. And, we can definitely see that, not that your original work was bad by any means, but, we've seen a real change in your work too. And, that's a compliment. I mean, everybody starts at zero. And
Yeah. Well,
it's if
thank
you
you.
stay at zero is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you didn't care, you will stay at zero,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah.
So in addition to being a taxidermist, you're quite an accomplished hunter as well. And you got any upcoming hunting plans?
Actually, yeah. We are leaving on Monday. We're going to northern Saskatchewan. We got invited on a bear hunt up there.
Oh, awesome.
Um, it was in the works, and then COVID come, so then it got canceled. So then Lyndon and I, my youngest, we were just gonna go here in northern Alberta. So we were planning that, and then last Saturday we got a text from the outfitter that said the Saskatchewan government said he can open up June 1st. Want to know if I still wanted to come, and I said sure.
Why not?
So so Lyndon and I are going to go up there. He's just dying to go fishing, and yeah, and so they haven't had any hunters in the camp because they can't travel up here from the States, and they've been up there baiting, so it should be fun. It's just a hunt that kind of fell on the last minute type thing, and why
Good
not?
for you. Yeah, no, good for you. I mean, anytime you can get the family out, and I mean, I think everybody looks at business people too, going, "Why aren't you working? Why aren't you working on my products?" But I mean, you need holidays too. Like it's like this is business for you, and everybody gets some holidays from business. So
Yeah, we were talking about that too, and our last trip was in 2018 that when we went to New Zealand on that hunt. So yeah, we haven't gone. I don't think we've gone anywhere hunting since, other than just right here at home.
yeah, well, not like you live in a bad place to hunt, but
No, we live in a pretty good area. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then we talked about doing New Zealand again in a year or two. It's such a fun, beautiful place. I don't know. I could live there, I guess, but the people over there are just as much amazing as the hunt and the scenery. Like it's one of those hunts. I don't know that everything from start to finish is just awesome. So it's hard to not go back there, or it's pretty easy to go back there, I should say.
yeah, I know we've done 3 trips, and it wouldn't take us much to be convinced to go for a 4th too. So I mean, we do love it as well. But I know probably let you go here. I think you just got in from chasing some bulls and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but you're probably, of all the people we do business with, you're the one guy we think of every day of the year, and only because when we look around our house, it reminds us of you everywhere. And I mean, everybody says you must have an incredible trophy room at your house, and we don't. We have an incredible trophy house, and we have taxidermy in most rooms. We don't have a big house, but all of the mounts we have, you've really brought them to life. You've really helped us preserve those memories, and it's an amazing part of our lives. I mean, it's like I say, taxidermy really is important to us for living those memories.
We talk about it, and again, we're very blessed to be working with you guys too. It's seamless and easy. I always go back to when you were leading me on that death march on the sheep hunt, and we were walking up the mountain, and you just asked me. You were like, I don't know, you were always way ahead of me, but for some reason I was just behind you, and you just said, are you gonna do the sponsorship next year? And I was puffing. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, and that was it. There was no your sign here, nothing like that. I was gasping, and you asked me, and I'm like, yeah, we'll do it again.
I'm gonna leave you here if we don't. So it's
it's just seamless and very easy to work with you guys, and we have fun too. So
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And I know we came up and hunted moose a couple of years ago and just had a blast with you. And we'll definitely have to get for another hunt soon. But say hi to Jennifer and the boys for us. And hope you guys have an awesome, awesome hunt in Saskatchewan.
thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Oh, go ahead.
Take care, and our well wishes to Vanessa.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks a lot, Curtis. And we'll be talking soon, I'm sure. I hope to see your truck and trailer in the driveway here in the next few months. So I know we've got a few more mounts coming from you. So
Yep. Right on.
sounds good. Thanks, Curtis.
Take care.